Welcome back to the Bill and Doug Show. So Ohio State, Michigan week, Doug Lamreese and Bill Landis. Just dropping a little morsel here on a Tuesday morning. Little breakfast snack, Bill Landis, as we get ready to speak with Ryan Day on Tuesday. And I was just telling you, I've just whipped through the last three Ohio State, Michigan games. 2022, 2023, 2024. Primarily the offensive side of the ball for Ohio State, but also checking out some other things. And I feel like a lunatic. How has Ohio State lost these games? Did you know last year Ohio State missed 2 field goals in the 30s and Michigan made a 54-yarder? Did you know that happened last year?
Did you know that Michigan had 2 scoring drives last year that accounted for 5 total yards?
Did you know
a 2-yard touchdown drive and a 3-yard field goal drive?
Did you know that each of the last 2 years, Ohio State set up Michigan for its first touchdown by throwing an interception that was returned inside the 10-yard line? And that's how Michigan scored its opening touchdowns each of the last 2 years. And last year, it was their only touchdown on a platter.
Mm-hmm. Well, I knew that about last year. I don't remember a whole lot from the 2022 game. The 2 things I remember from 2022 2023.
Yeah.
2023 are the random drive where like they turned into Army and Navy and just ran it down Michigan's throat for a touchdown. And it was like, where did that come from? And then the interception at the end.
The first pick was the one where it was like a quick little slant to Marv, and it was, was it McCord's fault? Was it Marv's fault? I don't know. Did he not fight hard enough for it? Did McCord lead him too much? And they returned it like to the 9 and set up the first touchdown of the game. So this is the thing, and it's like, why even this is our job and why you have to do this, because once the game is in the history books, it just becomes part of the stew, this delicious, wonderful 120-year-old stew with all these ingredients, right? But when you think about the game by itself, you can really break down how it happened. But when you think about the totality, you get to Ohio State's lost 4 straight. And then if that's your only analysis, it's like, hey, it's Ohio State, Michigan week. They've lost 4 straight. What are they going to do? But you go back and you watch the football, and it's like, they are the better team every single time. What is wrong? We know Connor Stallions is part of it, but there's also something I think very specific about this game that we want to talk about here when it comes to quarterback play. And it relates to what I just said, which is Kyle McCord and Will Howard the last 2 years early in the game threw bad picks that set up Michigan for 7 points. And the Will Howard thing, the first pick was before he got hit. So this is fresh, ready to roll Will Howard. And here's the thing I want to talk about as we think about going into this Michigan game, Bill. Thanks for being here, by the way, everybody. 2023, Kyle McCord going into the Michigan game, according to PFF, had 16 big-time throws and 13 turnover-worthy plays for the 11 games going into that season.
Going into the game, okay.
Going into the game. Will Howard last year, 13 big-time throws, 11 turnover-worthy plays going into the game. In the game, then, Kyle McCord had 2 big-time throws and 2 turnover-worthy plays, 2 picks. Will Howard had 0 big-time throws and 3 turnover-worthy plays, right? So these guys, like, were kind of 50-50 on big plays and bad plays going into the Michigan game, and then they made some bad plays in the Michigan game. Going into this Michigan game, Julian Sayin, 16 big-time throws, 4 turnover-worthy plays. And in Big Ten play, it's 13 big-time throws, 2 turnover-worthy plays. He's made 2 turnover-worthy plays. So I think a key to this game for Ohio State is not throwing a pick to Michigan that gives Michigan the ball inside the 10-yard line in the first quarter and sets up their first touchdown. And I think based on the stats and what our eyeballs have been telling us, I think Julian Sayin is less likely to do it than either Will Howard or Kyle McCord. And I would like to do a podcast about how that matters.
Okay, sure. Will it end with you advocating for Ohio State to just run the ball every play on its opening drive?
No, because here's my other big stat. And then you tried to say, like, well, Doug, what about the nuance of these stats? And then I was like, Bill, stats are stats. I looked up a stat, and this is the stat. Okay. The last three seasons, Ohio State has played 43 games. Does that sound right? Right? They played
16, 29,
16 and 13.
13.
So 42, right? They played 42 games. In the 3 Michigan games, they have thrown 2 interceptions in every Michigan game the last 3 years. In the other 39 games, this is the starting quarterback. The starting quarterback has thrown 2 interceptions once. Kyle McCord against Wisconsin. So again, the starting quarterback for Ohio State, the previous 3 seasons, 22, 23, 24, the starting quarterback threw 2 picks in 4 games. 3 of them were the 3 Michigan games. Now, the CJ Stroud, you said, well, wasn't they, those were like desperate CJ plays at the end. They were. And it was after Jim Knowles' defense sprung a leak and Donovan Edwards was popping through holes like the boy had pulled his finger out of the dike. But it was still a 2-score game with like 10 minutes left when CJ's first pick was on like an underhanded flip on 3rd and 10 when he was getting sacked in like the red zone. And there was still like some hope there. And it was a desperate play, but it was also like a bad decision by him. Try to eat it and maybe live for 4th down or whatever. But and then he threw another one late that was super desperate. That was off Cade Stover's hands down the seam. It was actually a pretty good throw. And Stover dropped it and popped it in the air. Michigan picked it. But anyway, my point, because we put it in the chat to our Substack folks, Bill and Doug OSU.substack.com/the game special. You get free trial up till the Big Ten championship game.
That's right.
So people were saying, like, well, does that mean, like you were saying, does that mean just run it? And it means no. If they throw it and don't throw picks that set up short fields for Michigan, boy, are they going to increase their chances to win. And that seems something Julian Sayin is very capable of. For all the things that at times he hasn't done, errors of omission, there have been very few errors of commission, like throwing an out that Will Howard did last year into the hands of a Michigan defensive back.
Yeah. So refresh my memory, because I know I watched the 2024 game yesterday. It was funny. Like I fired up the 2024 game to look at like one thing specifically, and then I just watched the whole game, the entire game, which is not the first time that's happened to me. So Will Howard threw that pick out of his own end zone. Kyle McCord's early interception, there was more like semi-normal field position. It got returned into a short field, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Because the field position last year, like that was something that I had forgotten, is like how bad of a field position situation much of that game was for Ohio State's offense. Much of it their own doing. And part of it also being like the defense is really good. Because I think they might have been, were they not? They were in that position because they made a stand on the goal line, right?
They did make a goal line stand. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like,
nice, and then Michigan also punted it down, I think, one time at least.
Punt.
But yes.
There was a punt that pinned them inside, and there was also, for some reason, Travion Henderson let a kickoff bounce and then had to fall on it on the 6-yard line. So again, mostly Ohio State's doing their bad field position. But what I'm getting at, I guess, is like some of it is like a sort of like circumstantial, I guess, right? If you are Ohio State and you're backed up in this game against Michigan, as much as it might frustrate people, do you not put yourself in the situation to throw the kind of interception that Will Howard threw last year? The McCord thing's different because it was just kind of like an inaccurate throw on a normal play. But the Howard one felt like, I'm in my end zone, I panicking because I got to get rid of the ball, and then he like threw it late and kind of behind, and also got baited sort of into the throw by the defensive back.
But also, like, part of this, and I just want to say, it's like you have a narrative, you live a narrative for 364 days, and you rewatch the game, and you're like, wait, is this narrative wrong? What is going on here? So this idea, obviously, Will Howard did take a very big hit up high on his body and maybe wasn't himself. I will say this, though. After he took that hit, like on the 3rd drive, there were times in that game when he was making some good throws. He came. It wasn't like he was then
The
unable
2-minute
to
drill
throw.
at the end of the first half was great.
So there were times when he looked really good, and then his second pick was terrible, and it was in the red zone. And so his first pick gave Michigan a touchdown. His second pick took a touchdown off the board for Ohio State, and
Or at the very least a chance for points. Yeah.
But again, I mean, we're doing mailbags on the Substack site, and I gave you, I don't know if you looked at, we were dividing up the questions. I gave you questions about, could Ohio State have an edge on special teams in this game? Having gone back and watched Jaden Fielding go 2 for 5 on makeable field goals in the last 2 Ohio State Michigan games, my answer is no. Ohio State does not have an edge in special teams. Like, good luck to all involved. I am not assuming anything about Ohio State's field goal team in the Michigan game until somebody drills 5 of them, because it is absolute insanity. The momentum swings of the past 2 years when it's like, hey, what's that Michigan guy doing? It's like drilling a 55-yarder. What are we doing? It's like 27. It's not going in. It's like, what is happening? How is this a thing? So it took a field goal opportunity at the very least off the board. It was an awful throw. It was like a bad decision. It was behind. It was right to a DB. And it's one of those things, like, if it's just like, oh man, like Will Howard got racked and like he couldn't even, it's like, well, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure it was a great job by him to fight to stay in the game and do all those things, but he had been doing good things, right? It wasn't like getting hit rendered him incapable of making good throws. And he made a bunch of good throws. And then at the worst possible time, he made another terrible throw that took points off the board. And it is a reminder, when we talked about this on Around the Shoe, Bill, which is why I wanted to talk about it for another half an hour. Will Howard, Ohio State legend, Buckeye hero of the playoff run, did not play that way against Michigan, and really had not been playing that way consistently for the 11 games going into Michigan. He had done it at times. I mean, we spent all last season talking about like the deep ball discussion around Will Howard was like kind of crazy at times, right? The deep ball discussion, like, are they not hitting it? They're not doing enough, whatever. Like the deep ball discussion with Julian Sayin is like, oh no, he went from 80% to 75% or whatever it is. So like, I just think the level of efficient playmaking, but taking care of the ball quarterback play for Ohio State going into this game, I think is substantially above 23 and 24. And it is now at very near the top of my list of the things that I think matter most for Saturday.
I think, yeah, I would put it up there as well. And there's actually like a interesting kind of parallel to that, I think, because it has been an ongoing conversation with Julian Sayin this year. Like, is he at times a little bit gun shy? There was a play last week against Rutgers where Brandon Ennis was wide open. He didn't throw in the ball. It took a check down. There was a play the week before against UCLA where Max Clare was wide open, didn't throw it. I think took another check down. And there have been other times throughout the year where that has happened. I think in the middle of the year, you did sort of feel him growing out of that. And then Jeremiah Tate and Carnell Smith, or Jeremiah Smith, and I've been doing that a lot. Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate were not available, but like the Penn State game was not an issue. The Penn State game was fireworks. It was like, all right, here we go. And then like personnel wise, it just kind of weren't equipped to do that anymore. But while you can be frustrated at times, and frustrated is probably too strong of a word, maybe more just like curious, acknowledging that it's a next step for Julian Sayin to take in his game as a redshirt freshman quarterback. It could also be the thing that gives you a little bit of comfort going into this game, right? He's just not loose with the football. And Gurr did a good job on Around the Shoe, like sort of running through the types of interceptions that he has thrown this year. There haven't really been many high leverage situations for the offense this year, so none of the INTs have really come in those moments. But he's just not been a guy who's been like rushed into bad throws. And a part of me just feels like if that were to happen, and it probably will happen in this game because Michigan has a good defense, he might just throw it away and like live to play for the next play and not put Ohio State's offense in the positions it's been put in the last 2 years.
And again, like the discussion of that you and I have had, that the players in the players meeting with Ryan Day had last year around like, why is Ohio State not taking advantage of its playmakers and getting the ball more to receivers in a game like that, right? And why were they running the ball right into Mason Graham? It's also a reminder of Oh, just to double check, like you guys think that Ohio State should throw it more like when we were throwing it to the other team? Is that when you think? Like, is that the type of throwing that you think that's not it? Like it hasn't been great. And so now that's another conversation. Kyle McCord, 18 of 30 for 271 in 2023. Will Howard last year, 19 of 33 for 175. And then it becomes part of the discussion is if Ohio State is this really good throwing team for much of the year, why, for instance, haven't they thrown it as well in the last two Michigan games? And then is it something like, well, because Michigan's really good on defense? And maybe because it's a little bit colder, and maybe because Ohio State's playing a little bit tight, right? There are things that it's not just like coincidental that the passing game hasn't been as efficient or effective. But then also, I do think what we have seen from this passing game would lead me to be efficient's been the word all year, that it will be more efficient because it's the absolute calling card of this passing game is the efficiency of it. So
Yeah.
if Ohio State doesn't turn it over and they're just a little more bing, bang, boom, and you take a check down when it's not there and you don't put the ball in harm's way, I can't believe the picks. I can't believe that in the Ohio State-Michigan game, the last 2 years, the Ohio State quarterback threw it to the other team and set up a touchdown in the first quarter.
Yeah. Did you know that I was just looking this up before we started recording, and whatever, it's PFF. I know it's not everything, but Will Howard's passing grade in that game is the lowest of the Ryan Day era.
Wow. The single lowest passing grade in any Ryan Day game since he took over as a head coach in 2019.
Yeah, it's the only, they've had a handful of like, so it's whatever, it's on a scale of 0, which I hope no one oversees, to like 100, but anything north of like 70 is probably pretty good. Even in the 60s at times can be pretty good. They had a few sub 60 games, including Kyle McCord at Michigan in 2023, but the only one that's sub 50 is Will Howard last year.
Okay. So then, like, do you believe this passing game? How would you compare the ability of this passing game? And we'll just throw in, I mean, everybody's seen it. Caleb Downs gets to be the best defensive player in the country, and he gets the best podcast guest. So I don't know what are you going to do.
He's going to win a Pulitzer.
That Jeremiah Smith is going to be on the Downs Brothers podcast, which I think we'll post on Wednesday, but they have a social media clip that's Jeremiah Smith saying, I'm dealing with this injury thing, but I should be good to go Saturday. Right. So, which is, again, obviously the number one question of the week. Do you believe this passing game, let's now operate at his word, operate under the assumption that Jeremiah Smith, at the very least, will attempt to play? Do you believe it can and will be efficient against this Michigan defense? Like, is that a reasonable assumption to make? And again, perhaps a stronger assumption than we would have made about the Kyle McCord passing game or the Will Howard passing game?
Yeah, I think so. And part of it is less so about like the personnel involved, Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith, and more like the mindset of the play callers and the guys who were devising the offensive game plan, right? Like, I just, for the life of me, can't fathom another year where they don't build their like plan around using their best players, which in this game would be Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. And like watching Michigan too, like I don't know, I don't find Michigan's secondary particularly impressive, especially at the safety position. So like, and from an athletic standpoint as well. So I think there are just, I think, pretty stark advantages there for Ohio State. Now Michigan's done a great job of scheming them up and like doubling Marvin in 2023. I think doing a good job of kind of bracketing at times like both Jeremiah and Emeka, or Jeremiah and Carnell. Like they really were diverting a lot of resources to them because they knew that their front just kind of had stuff handled that didn't need extra help. The dynamics with Michigan's defense are not quite the same. So I think they'll probably try to play it the same way, but I don't know that they're equipped to do it as effectively as they were last year. And I think that Ohio State's passing attack, with the sort of asterisk that their 2-star receivers have been injured the last 2 weeks, when it's whole is better than it was last year coming into this game. So for all those reasons, yeah, I think that they are equipped to be more efficient against Michigan. Yes.
And there's just a couple throws. Again, this is just all fresh in my mind. Like the first kind of third and intermediate throw last year for Will Howard, he threw it to Emeka Egbuka, and like Emeka Egbuka just was covered. Like he just came out of his break and it was not there. And Will Howard threw it to him anyway, and it just had no chance of being completed. There was a third down throw in the 2023 game where Kyle McCord just looked straight at Cade Stover, who was double covered at the sticks, and just threw it right at him into double coverage, and it was not complete. And it was like, okay, well, I don't know. Maybe that was not the throw to make there, because it looked like on the top of the screen to the left side of the field, there was a guy who was open there. Like, what is that decision in the moment? And I don't know if it's these quarterbacks getting tight, if it is the bad play calling, if it is great coverage by the Michigan defensive backs, but there's just more throws in those games. Ohio State makes throwing the ball look so easy so much of the time, and there's just so many throws in 23 and 24 where it doesn't look easy.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is that? And I just think those quarterbacks did not play their best games. And even the second Kyle McCord pick, as everybody knows, is what basically ended the game. He's trying to get the ball down the middle to Marvin Harrison Jr. in this 1 minute drill where they're trying to come back and have a chance to go down in history. And there's some leakage on the protection, and he gets hit as he throws, and it is to his left. But even watching this, I'm not trying to make Julian Sayin out to be some kind of miracle robot AI quarterback that never makes a mistake. But Kyle McCord, like, the pressure is coming, and Kyle McCord just stands there and tries to make the throw and is hit as he's throwing it and throws the pick. And I just watched that play, and I might think to myself, I think Julian Sayin's pocket awareness, I don't think he just stands there.
Mm-hmm.
I think he maneuvers a little bit away from it and gives himself a chance to stay alive, right? The second Will Howard pick last year, the miss, I don't think Julian Sayin makes that miss. And so it's so stark to me. And then the other thing is, like, going back to CJ Stroud and watching CJ Stroud in 22, I didn't watch in 21, but watching, he's just he's making throws. He's picking guys apart. There's the fourth down throw that they thought Cade Stover would be open, that was covered by the linebacker that everybody kind of points to as the number one Connor Stallions moment there. But then in rewatching that, I don't know if you realize this. Did you know that Ohio State's defense just stopped playing on 7 plays in that game? They actually, all 11 of them, laid down on the field and took a nap, and Michigan scored a touchdown every time they did that. And so it's like CJ Stroud is like, man, okay, this is different than the Howard and McCord years. Look at CJ Stroud. Okay, let me fast forward to the next offensive possession because I want to get a handle on how the passing game was working. Why is that Michigan guy running by himself? Oh, who's chasing him? Why is Cam Martinez chasing him down the field? And then there are guys like on the field. There also, I'm wound up. There are things you go through, and there are times it's the Ohio State. It's a fantastic Ohio State team. There are guys on the field in major moments for Ohio State who I think to myself, that guy wouldn't see the field now.
You didn't like the play in the 2023 game where like Malik Hartford hadn't played in 8 months, and then they put him on the field as a dime back, and then he turned his head and JJ McCarthy threw it right behind him.
Yeah. That the Jim Knowles blitz on the Cam Brown play to tie the game on the first time, time after time. So it's just like watching this is like, how is this Ohio State? What is this? And I can't, it's not going to be easy. Michigan's a very good football team, but the mistakes Ohio State is making across these last 3 games, I think in 2021, Aiden Hutchinson's really good. The mistakes they made across the last 3 games, rewatching them, my primary reaction was, I can't imagine this team making those mistakes. They might make other mistakes, but throwing the ball to Michigan for no reason and then allowing Michigan guys to just rip off 60-yard plays, those seem to be maybe the 2 things that this Ohio State team does best, which is not turn the ball over and not give up big plays because they're a mature, selfless, also efficient defense. And then it's like, well, then what's Michigan going to do? Why am I so upset? Why
they didn't give up any big plays on defense last year?
No, well, it's 13-10. No,
And
right.
the touchdown came on a 2-yard drive.
Yes. So the last two games they lost because the quarterback threw it to Michigan. And then 3 years ago, when the quarterback was actually playing pretty well, they lost because the defense gave up 5 50-yard plays.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't think this defense for Ohio State will give up 5 50-yard plays. And I don't think this quarterback's going to throw it to Michigan. So then if those things are taken away, then that's how Michigan won the last 3 games. That's why I wanted to do a podcast. The end.
Yeah. Okay. We got there. I would like to, by the way, I can't remember on which show I said it. It was I think it was the Sunday Sound Off show that we did for our Substack subscribers. And I said something to the effect of like trying to recollect the 2024 game. And I didn't recall players being tight. I would like to amend the record after rewatching the 2024 game. Not the defense, but there were clearly some guys who were a little wound up, I think, on offense and on special teams in ways that did not contribute to them playing their best.
There's also just some remarkable stuff. I guess it was a 23 game. There's just like an Emeka Ibuka drop early in the game that mattered on third down. Last year, there's a Carnell Tate drop on third down that's just like, what is happening there? Do I think now, if they're playing their 5th and 9th best receivers, all bets are off. But again, so now we're laying down I think the efficiency with which this team has operated on both sides of the ball. If they do make catastrophic mistakes, I think that is almost entirely mental and emotional. Then something is broken with this team, because that is not the other teams. I think that was more hiding in there. Super blitz man play caller, just letting it all hang out and giving up big plays. And then 2 quarterbacks who just were a little looser during the regular season than Julian Sayin was. And then, they threw some picks in the Michigan game. Well, they kind of had that in them more, right? So if this happens, I think it would be on both those aspects more surprising, more contrary to the heart and soul of what Ohio State is right now. And then it's like, why did you wind up doing something so outside yourselves that all of a sudden now the passing game's throwing it to the other team? Now all of a sudden this defense is giving up gigantic plays. What happened? There must be something in the way that you are approaching your business, because of your mindset, because of the way you prepared for the game, that is not allowing you to play at your best. As much as Ohio State, I would say what happened to Ohio State the last 4 years, one of the things that they didn't play at their best. But actually what is, I think, also true is some of the issues that were bubbling underneath the whole time just cropped up more. But they weren't from out of nowhere. And
I would say that was even
more
true
from
with
out of
21.
nowhere.
I would say that was even true with 21 when you think about the offensive line and just how weird that situation was.
Short yardage, the inability to make short yardage, right?
Yeah.
Which is what turned that game. So,
and I don't know, what's the any consistent lingering thing this year that might get magnified. There's not, I mean, the run game generally, I guess, but I don't nothing springs to mind of I've seen this happen a time or two. I wonder if it could be expanded upon in the Michigan game. I don't know what that would be.
So we're gonna do a big game breakdown that we'll put up here on YouTube and on the podcast feeds on Wednesday, where we go through this entire game on both sides of the ball. We will wind up repeating a little bit of what we said today, but I wanted to get this aspect about the quarterback play, get it out there and let it percolate a little bit, because 4 turnover worthy plays in 11 starts for Julian Sayin. And I think it was a reminder of how backbreaking it is in a rivalry like this to turn the ball over and hand a short field to an offense that, Michigan, even in 23, even in the national title year, they needed some help on offense sometimes, right? So, and then the other thing is just another reminder, each of the last 3 years, right at the point, in the third quarter where the game's in the balance, Michigan had a killer trick play. It really is a reminder. Each of the 3 years, they killed Ohio State right when it was, this could tilt. In 23, they threw a halfback pass down to the goal line that Denzel Burke interfered and set him up first and goal. They had in 20 No, that was in 22.
It was
In
last year.
23,
Wasn't it
was that
last
last year? No, because last year, now I'm losing track. So that was one. Maybe that was last year. One of them was the handoff to Kalel Mullings, where he then stopped and threw it on 3rd and 1.
That was
That
22.
was one. And then there was the Donovan Edwards halfback pass that right at a critical juncture. That might have been in 23.
That was 23 because he was, yeah.
Okay. So Mullings trick play, Edwards trick play, the pass down to the goal line, interference trick play. So anyway, it's a reminder. And also, like, what was it? Was it last year they used Alex Orji a little bit in the run game, like Michigan did? It's like a reminder of what like Lincoln Kienholz can be. Like, so
One of their the first field goal they kicked was set up by Alex Orji coming in on like 4th and 1. Or maybe it was 3rd and 1, and Ohio State didn't set the edge and he ran for like 30 yards. Yeah.
Like, what do we think of an Alex Orji Lincoln Kienholz comparison?
Orji had a big run at the start of the second half in 23 too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't they like open the second half with him on the drive for a first drive and get a nice run?
Yeah, they like ran him back-to-back plays. He got like 20 yards on one play and 2 on the next play. Is that like a reasonable comparison in terms of the athleticism of the quarterback and
yeah,
what
I mean,
in terms of what to do for a brief moment?
What their impact on the game could be? Yeah, and also even like the telegraphed nature of it, because everyone knows when he's coming in, he's
everyone
running.
knows, but who cares?
For Michigan, it worked. Yeah,
but it still worked. Block it up right. So okay, so we're gonna be. Are we gonna keep doing coverage this week? Yeah, right. We are.
We are.
So
yeah.
So we would invite people to join us on Substack. We would invite you to like, subscribe, tell a friend about the Bill and Doug Show. We just got to tell you, there are a lot of you joining us on Substack for the first time, and thank you. We get we can see all those numbers of how much we're growing. We continue to be, I think, the second fastest rising sports Substack in the world with the growth we've had primarily this week because of this game and because of this fan base. And so thanks to you guys for doing that. Bill and Doug OSU.substack.com/the game special. Sorry, Bill. I just had to get this off my chest.
I'm glad you did. Yeah, you can't. It's Michigan week. You can't let those things fester. You got to get them out.
4 turnover-worthy plays the whole year for Julian Sayin. 4. Did you? And the final thing is, I want Ohio State fans to have the right assessment of Ohio State quarterback play going into the game and in the game, because I think the way that Will Howard played for the last month, that deserves to be how he is remembered, but it doesn't serve Ohio State fans to think that's what he was doing all the time, right? And so he rose to something, but he didn't rise to it in the Michigan game. He didn't. And then he got hurt. But he wasn't rising to that even before he got hurt. He, as much as that team transformed, he transformed.
He transformed, yeah. Big time.
And what an unforgettable thing it is. But don't trick yourself into thinking that was the quarterback that played quarterback for Ohio State in the Michigan game last year, because it wasn't.
It was not, yeah.
So
can I want to, because we'll talk more about this when we do a big game breakdown later this week, but just while we're talking quarterbacks, you said Julian Sayin's got 4 turnover-worthy plays all year. Bryce Underwood, Michigan's quarterback, has 6 in the last 4 games.
Oh, that is a difference. Would you like to play which quarterback is more likely to throw a pick that is returned inside the 10-yard line in the first quarter?
I feel like I don't want to play that game because I can feel every Ohio State fan who's been listening to this telling us to shut the hell up and stop jinxing Julian Sayin.
Well, it's one of those things. Like it is at the it's losing 4 in a row. There is a reasonable group of smart, educated, dedicated Ohio State fans who just want us to shut our yaps in general about everything. They don't want to hear good stuff. They don't want to hear criticism. They don't want to hear injury guesses. Just like, it's too much, but we got to do it for everybody else who still wants it. But there is, because like we're stating facts here. 4 turnover-worthy plays, that's a PFF fact, right? It's not that we're not just saying vibes. We think Julian Sayin is less likely to throw a pick, but it doesn't guarantee anything, right? So it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, thanks to you guys for talking about it. Now you made it happen. It's like, well, no, but I think it's good information to take into Thanksgiving dinner. Okay. We're going to Ryan Day news conference on Tuesday. Yeah.
Tuesday at noon. We'll be there.
All right. We'll be there. We'll be back with a whole bunch of videos, a whole bunch of podcasts. Make sure you watch it here on YouTube. Make sure you listen here on your favorite podcast feed. And we will have a big Wednesday show for the Substack folks as well. And then we'll have a live post-game show on Saturday. Right after the game, Bill will be in Ann Arbor. I'll be in the home office, and we're just going to start jamming pretty quickly on that. So, because
it matters. To figure out where we're going to do it. They got mad at us last time we were in Ann Arbor and did a podcast there.
They did. I do think. Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. I think I'll probably start by myself though, because I don't know. Like we've been trying to wait, but either way, I don't think Ohio State fans are going to want to wait. We're going to want to start. Open the vein and let people share their opinions one way or the other. So I think we'll get to that, and then we'll let Philly Billy come in and drop some football truth on us. So, all right. Thanks, Bill, for tolerating me through that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Thanks to you guys for doing the same. For now, he's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was the Bill and Doug Show.